Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. It is the Week 9 preview show, and I have to start the show with an apology. And if you're new here, you're like, man, what's this guy? He's starting with an apology? That's how we're starting off this show? Yes, look, the picks. You see right there next to me. Picks is the third thing we're going to get to tonight. The picks were not good last week, folks. Week 8 was sort of a disaster for the Ian Fritts show in the picks department. We were below 500 for the first time this year. And if you pick the same picks I do, it was a bad week. It was a really, really bad week, and I know some of you do. I know some of you listen to what I have to say and take it as whatever the saying is. You take it as the saying. Whatever you go by what I say. And last week was not the week to do what I say. It was the week to fade, as some people say. It is to fade what I did last week, and hopefully some of you did fade what I said to do last week, because it was bad. And we were coming off our best week of week 7. Our best week of the year was week 7, and we followed it up with the worst week of the season, which means we are in store for a bounce back week in the picks of this show. We need to get back. We are still above 500 on the season. We are still making money. We need to be making more money, though, folks. We need to be making more money. So I just had to open with an apology to all of you out there that listen to what I have to say and take it to heart and apply it for your bank accounts and just for fun as well. So with the show today, we've got 2 game previews coming your way for week 9. Then we have the upset alerts, and then we have, obviously, the picks. And I think, there's a little discouragement with the picks. You come off your worst week of the season, and there's a little hesitancy. But not here. We do not hesitate. Boom! Go with the gut. That's what we do here at the Ian Fritts Show. Welcome in, everybody. If you're new here, thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and comment down below. I'm new, and I will respond to you. Also, subscribe on YouTube, as well as Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. A lot of good stuff out there for you folks. We're jumping right in. We have the game previews. First up, it is Ole Miss at Oklahoma. This is a top 15 matchup, ladies and gentlemen. This is number 8 Ole Miss coming off. This is going to be their second road trip in a row. They were at Georgia last weekend, thriller of a football game, and now they're heading to Norman, Oklahoma for, I believe, the first time ever. I think this is the first time Ole Miss has ever been to Norman, Oklahoma, which is, for one, that is exciting. Okay, I love when we get college football teams that have never been to a certain place. They go to that certain place in the season. This is also the start, I guess you can say last year was the start of a new rivalry, because OU and Ole Miss are going to play each other for the next 4 years. They are in the pod, or not in the pod. Each one of these two teams is a rival for the next 4 years. OU has Ole Miss, Missouri, and Texas. So that is, the start of a new rivalry last year. Ole Miss got it done. Let's see if OU can get it done at home. Oklahoma is currently favored by 4.5, and you're thinking, Ian, wasn't Ole Miss they were number 8? They're on the road, not favored? Yes, they are not favored. Home team is favored here by 4.5 at the time of me talking to you. Could change, could fluctuate. I believe it got up to 5.5 at one point, but when I had done my prep for this, it was at 4.5. So that's what we go with. That is what we go with, folks. So, elimination game, possibly for one of these two teams, and you're thinking, Ian, they only have one loss, each of these two teams. There's no way this is an elimination game from the playoffs, right? Correct. It is an elimination game in the sense that you lose this, you probably are out of contention for the SEC championship game, okay? And I think the loser of this football game is going to go on to lose at least one more game. So that would give them 3 losses. That would, in my mind, eliminate them from the college football playoff. There is talk with Oklahoma that you get to 9-3, you're in the playoff with their schedule. I don't see it. I don't buy it. Not happening. I don't think that's possible. Could. Well, I'm not going to say it's not possible, but there's a very, very slim chance in my mind that Oklahoma at 9-3 gets in. So, elimination game from my standpoint, yes, because the loser of this game is going to lose at least one more football game. That gets them to 9-3 at best, and that would eliminate them from the playoffs. virtually guarantees you're eliminated from the SEC championship game if you lose this game, with 2 conference losses for each of these teams after this one if you lose. So I think this is an elimination game. So high stakes, high reward, devastating news if you lose this game, if you're Ole Miss, if you're Oklahoma. Another storyline going into this game. Lane Kiffin, is he locked in? Is the man focused on Oklahoma right now, or is he down there in Gainesville, Florida, checking out his new digs, house hunting, looking at his new house in Florida for his new head coaching gig that some are saying is already written in the stars. It's already happening. Lane Kiffin is already the head coach of the Florida Gators with the way some people are talking, okay? I'm not there yet. I think that is going to happen. I think it's going to be Lane Kiffin. But we don't know yet. He's still the head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels right now. But there is always that thought when a coach is rumored here and rumored there that their focus is not 100% on what it needs to be on. And right now, Lane Kiffin's focus needs to be on that Brent Venables defense that is top 3 in virtually every statistical category. So is he focusing on Oklahoma this weekend? If he's not, woo, Rebel fans, you're going to have your hands full with this one. You're going to be not liking what you're watching on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. And I guess if you live on the East Coast, 12 o'clock. If you live on the West Coast, 9 a.m. Side note about time zones. I have a theory that I think West Coast time, I think Central Standard Time is the best for sports. But I think right behind it might be Mountain Time. I think it goes Central, Mountain. I think Eastern's the worst time zone to watch games on. You have games kicking off. If it's a West Coast game, you have it kicking off at midnight your time. That stinks. That is unfortunate. Now, you're watching college football games if you live on the West Coast at 9 a.m. all the way through the entire day. 9, you wake up, boom, college football the whole day. Okay, and some could say, well, yeah, everywhere you wake up, it's college football the whole day. If you wake up a little later, yeah, well, we don't. The older you get, the earlier you wake up, you might move out to the West Coast, okay? I don't know how the old Floridians do it down there, watch football all day in that Eastern time zone. Anyways, Central Standard Time, Mountain Time, those are the best time zones to watch sports. I have no doubt in my mind. 10 a.m. games, awesome. For television purposes. For in-game atmosphere, that's another debate. For television, in-home watching, Central Standard Time, then Mountain Time. Back to the game. Is Lane Kiffin locked in? We will see on Saturday. He could be, he may not be. It's tough to say. It is tough to say. He is probably also going to be the Florida head coach. You know how we do here at the Fritts Show. We start with the visiting team that would be Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels. We're going to look at a couple things we expect from their offense and a couple questions, maybe 1 or 2 that we have about their offense, and then a couple questions and things we expect from their defense based on what we've seen from this Ole Miss team through 8 weeks of the season. Okay, the offense. You know you're going to get a good offense when you have Lane Kiffin as the offensive coordinator. He just so happens to be the head coach as well. You know the offense is going to be humming, and boy, has it hummed all year long. Okay, they're 11th in points per game. They're 5th in yards per game. They're 9th in yards per play. They're 7th in third down percentage. So they're converting on third down a lot. They're scoring a lot of points. They're getting a lot of yards, and they're being efficient per play. So the offense this year for Lane Kiffin has been, I believe, one of his best offenses at Ole Miss. Last year was awesome. This year it is still that good. The offense from Ole Miss has been unbelievable, and it's because Lane Kiffin knows what he's doing. Shocker, Lane Kiffin, great offensive mind, great offensive coordinator. He knows what he's doing. Number 2, Trinidad Chambliss. Nobody knew this man when he assumed the starting role because Austin Simmons, who some thought was a top 5 quarterback for Ole Miss coming into the season, they thought he was going to be a top 5 SEC quarterback coming into the year. And he struggled a little bit, got a little banged up, and they just said, hey, we're just actually going to go to our backup from Ferris State, and he's going to be a top 5 quarterback not only in the SEC, but in the entire country. He is going to run this offense efficiently. He is going to not turn the ball over like Austin Simmons was a couple games into the season. He is going to run it efficiently, run it effectively, know who's going to, know how to progress. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I'm going to 4. Oh, nobody's open. Let me tuck it and run and just rack up 6 rushing touchdowns through 6 weeks of the season. Trinidad Chambliss has been incredible, and nobody knew this man's name except for Lane Kiffin and the people that saw Ferris State Hand up. I didn't watch a game of Ferris State last year. Hand up. I can admit that, and you should too, because we didn't know who Trinidad Chambliss was until 6 weeks ago. And the man, every team in college football, other than, I think you could say, Alabama, I think you could say Indiana, and I'm not sure you could go further than that. Every other team in the country would probably rather have Trinidad Chambliss as their quarterback. I think Ty Simpson and Fernando Mendoza are maybe the only two exceptions where you could say, no, we'd rather have this guy. That's how good Trinidad Chambliss has been at Ole Miss this year. He's been unbelievable. And we had a question about him last week, if you watched the preview show for week 8. We said, hey, how is he going to handle going on the road to Athens, Georgia, and going in that tough road environment? Is he going to fold? Is he going to become a shell of himself? And sure enough, folks, he did not. He did not. He lived up to what he had been the previous 5 weeks of the season, and he played a really, really clean football game, didn't turn it over. Threw a touchdown pass, ran for a couple more, ran the offense well, scored on their first 5 possessions. Now, as the game progressed, things got a little tighter, missed a couple throws, offense kind of sputtered, and Georgia was able to win that football game. But for his first Power 4 road start, Trinidad Chambliss lived up to the hype. He was awesome. Now, this is his second time doing this, so he has experience doing it a week ago, okay? So this is not going to be a hostile environment that he's never felt before. He felt it 7 days ago, and he's getting another taste. Boom, right back to it 7 days later. Now, the question this week isn't, well, how is he going to respond to his first road environment? It's going to be, how does he respond to going on the road in 2 atmospheres back to back? Okay, he hadn't been to one ever. Now he's got to do it back to back. Is there a little hangover? Is he a little tired from all that energy he spent last week against Georgia on the road in that environment? Is he going to be a little lethargic coming out on Saturday morning, a little sleepy here in Norman, Oklahoma? How is he going to respond to the second time he has to do this? Not that the second time isn't the big deal. It's the fact that it's a back-to-back for him. He's never had to deal with that travel, the 2 environments, all in 7-day span. Just people yelling, screaming, yelling his name, saying, hey, you suck, Trinidad Chambliss, you're no good, even though he is. How is he going to handle that after how he handled last week, okay? Did he expend too much energy last week? That's the big question for Trinidad Chambliss on Saturday. Another thing, the run game for Ole Miss has been, let's say, it's been average. It has been less than desirable, especially when they play a team like a Georgia, where Georgia has been able to stop the run pretty much in every game they've played, and they have to have teams beat them through the air. Trinidad Chambliss can do that. You look at his numbers, you look at the way he plays, you look at the ball he throws, the vision he has, he can beat you through the air. But QB run game is going to have to be massive, massive, massive for Ole Miss in this football game, because Oklahoma so far this year has a top 5 run defense. They've let up, I believe, 2 or 3 explosive runs. Other than that, it is boom. You're stuffed at the point of attack, and your offensive line is going backwards, okay? It is going backwards. And as a fan of teams that your offensive line is going backwards, you do not want to see that. You do not want to see that if you're Ole Miss. So QB run game is going to have to be extremely, extremely important for Ole Miss in this one. Also, just going to put this out there for both teams. Weather in this game could play a major, major factor. It could be pouring rain at the time of kickoff. It could be pouring rain throughout the entirety of this game. So if it is pouring, how is Trinidad Chambliss going to handle that? Is the ball going to be a little slippery? Can he throw it? I don't know. Is it just going to be everybody's going to run the ball for 50 times and it's just going to be who can run the ball better on Saturday morning? Is that what it's going to be if the weather's this bad? Who knows? Who knows? Look, the run game was bad at Georgia. It limited their success in the second half. Okay, Georgia stopped the run and they just had to throw the ball and they couldn't do it in the second half. Things tightened, things squeezed. Does that happen again? Normally with these high potent, high powered offenses, they get off to a hot start. Boom, you're climbing the ladder, you're climbing the mountain, and then things kind of taper off as the game progresses. Think Lincoln Riley. He always gets off to the hot starts. Boom, we scored 38 points in the first 7 minutes of this football game. Oh, we ended with 42. How does that happen, Lincoln? Well, the defense adjusts and the defense gets better as the game goes on, and the offense usually tends to get worse as the game goes along, okay? That can't happen on Saturday. That cannot happen on Saturday for the Ole Miss offense. You got to flip. You don't have to flip what you did against Georgia last week, but you're going to have to play a little better. This is by far the best defense this Ole Miss offense has faced. And we'll get to, yes, this is by far the best offense OU's defense has faced when we get to Oklahoma here in a second. But how do they handle the challenge? Do they get bullied up front like every offensive line that has faced Oklahoma's defensive line this year? How does that happen? How do they handle the environment for Trinidad Chambliss, his second back-to-back road trip? How does Lane Kiffin use Trinidad Chambliss in the run game? I expect it to be a big part of the offense. Oklahoma has struggled with that at times recently. Not this year, but in Brent Venables' tenure, QB run game has been an issue. It's always an issue for a lot of players, and that is going to be a vital point for Ole Miss to succeed in this game. Defensively for Ole Miss, they were exposed. They were exposed, about as exposed as you could get a week ago. They had, I believe, 7 possessions that Georgia had in that entire football game, and Georgia scored in every single one of them. They weren't all touchdowns, but there were points scored by Georgia every single time Georgia had the football. That's about as bad as it gets. Now, the only way that it could get worse is if Georgia scored a touchdown every single time they had the football. So if you're Ole Miss, I guess you can hang your hat on that. Hey, we stopped them a couple times, got them a field goal, we played them pretty good. No. The 2 times you've played an offense that has any semblance of a pulse, they've been cooked. They've been fried. They have been bad. It's like trying to stop a prime Baker Mayfield, Lincoln Riley offense. That's the defense that Ole Miss has been putting out there right there. Okay, the defense has been that bad against Arkansas. Was the one good offense they had faced up until this point, and Arkansas did whatever they wanted to at will offensively, and then Georgia 5 days ago did whatever they wanted to at will against Ole Miss. Okay, now those 2 offenses, good news for Ole Miss. Those 2 offenses, Arkansas and Georgia, are better than this Oklahoma offense, okay? So you have that to hang your hat on. Hey, we've been cooked by 2 good offenses. Oklahoma's offense isn't that good. The talent, the skill position, they still have all of that at Oklahoma. So it's not like you're playing Tulane again, where the talent is a considerable step below Arkansas and Georgia and Oklahoma. No. Oklahoma still has the guys to do it. But how does Ole Miss respond? Biggest question, can they rush the passer? Okay, Oklahoma's been susceptible, giving up sacks. That is going to be key for Ole Miss in this one because, one, Oklahoma struggled to run the football, okay? And you're thinking, Ian, they ran the ball great against South Carolina last week. Yes, I have a tendency to think that was a mirage, that was a farce, that was a falsity of this Oklahoma football team because, one, we saw it 2 weeks ago. LSU had not been able to run the ball all year long. They play South Carolina. Magically, they were able to run the football, okay? Then 5 days ago, LSU plays Vanderbilt. Could not run the football. Oh, what's the outlier? The South Carolina game. That has happened against Oklahoma here. Oklahoma could not run the ball all year long. They play South Carolina. Boom, poof, magically you can run the football. I'm not ready to think that is just fixed, okay? That is not something I can do. That is not something I can tell Oklahoma, hey, you're okay, you can run the football now. No. I think that's more of an indictment on South Carolina's run defense because you face 2 teams that couldn't run the football, and then they could run the football on you, and one of them tried to do it again the week after, couldn't run the football, we're back to their old ways. That could happen against Oklahoma. So if Ole Miss shuts the run down, they're going to have chances to get after the passer. Oklahoma has given up a bunch of sacks this year. The offensive line has been a little banged up. They haven't been great this year. So, does Ole Miss rush the passer? Do they get after John Mateer? Do they hit his thumb a little bit? Make sure is he healthy? Can we slap that thumb? Slap that ball when he's holding it? That's what you're going to have to do as your defensive player for Ole Miss. However, they're 100th in sack percentage. Okay, they have not gotten after the quarterback this year, and we said that coming into the season. Ole Miss was great at getting to the quarterback last year. They lost basically everybody that was good at that on their football team. Okay, so they had to replace all those guys. There's been regression. There will continue to be regression in my mind. But there are times in college football where stats don't tell you the story because stats going into the game don't tell the story. And you get into the game, it was a couple weeks ago, Texas OU. Texas offensive line had been abysmal. Somehow, some way, they played a good football game and didn't let Arch Manning take 12 sacks, okay? That was a stat that had to flip for Texas in that football game, and it did. This is the same case here for Ole Miss. This is going to have to flip for the Rebels to win this football game. They're going to have to rush the passer and get after John Mateer this weekend. Next up, it's Oklahoma. The offense for Oklahoma, what am I looking for? Okay, the first thing, health of John Mateer. Okay, this is, I believe, that we're coming up on 30 days post-surgery. He was bad against Texas. He was better against South Carolina. He looked healthier. You would think This is his third start since the surgery. He will progress even further against Ole Miss, and this is the worst defense he has faced. So you would think there's progression of his health, but also progression of the offense, having played way better defenses than Ole Miss to this point in the season. So that's obviously the first thing you got to look for if you're an Oklahoma fan here. How does John Mateer's thumb look? Everybody says, hey, John Mateer's thumb healthy. He's been practicing. He's been ready to roll. He's been getting better. You know, you can look bad against Texas and then good against South Carolina. Everybody looks good against South Carolina's defense right now, okay? I need to see it again. He should look better on Saturday. Will he look better on Saturday? That's the question that we need answered. The run game. I hinted at it a second ago when I was talking about Ole Miss's ability to stop the run and then rush the passer. The run game. People have been able to run on Ole Miss, okay? Georgia ran for about 250 yards on them last week. Now, Georgia's been able to run the football on everybody they've played except for Auburn, and then that gets us to the point where Auburn has a top 5 rush defense in the country. Nobody can run the football on them. So, Georgia can run the football. They ran it on Ole Miss. Arkansas can run the football. They ran it on Ole Miss. Oklahoma, I still don't think they can run the football, but Ole Miss really can't stop the run. So, can they stop the run? Or does Oklahoma continue on the progress they built last week against South Carolina and run the football against Ole Miss? Did they run the ball, and do they run the ball efficiently, effectively? Does Torrey Blaylock have a couple big runs? Maybe Xavier Robinson has a couple big runs. Maybe John Mateer has a 50-yard run. Okay? Those are the things that they need to build on last week against South Carolina. It can't be a farce like it was for LSU. It can't be a fake thing that was just a one-off, we ran the ball extremely well because South Carolina stinks defensively. It cannot be that for OU. It has to be built from last week to this week for this offense to have success and frankly score enough points to beat this Ole Miss team. Defensively from Oklahoma, the defensive line has been unbelievable, easily the best in the SEC up until this point in the season. And the things that were said about this defensive line coming into the season halfway through are true. It is elite. It is unbelievable how they penetrate, just get off blockers. They're just grabbing dudes, throwing them off, pushing them backwards. Hey, quarterback, boom, he's going to sit in your lap, and I'm just going to shed him. Boom, spit. He could jump over him, crawl through his legs. It doesn't matter how they do it. They are doing it, okay? Now, there's a stat, this Havoc stat. It's a cool stat. I can't remember exactly who posted it on Twitter, but just go find it. It is awesome. Oklahoma is way outlier. This defensive line creates the most havoc in the SEC by a wide margin. That basically means sacks and tackles for loss. Oklahoma's way over there. All the other teams are kind of, there's a couple here, and then the rest of them are kind of in the middle where you would expect a football team to be. And OU is like, you got to get binoculars to see where OU was on this graph. That's how far away they were from all the other teams. So, all that to say, the offensive line from Ole Miss has been, at times, a little leaky, especially in the run game. And we know that Oklahoma has been able to stop the run extremely well this year, extremely well. So does that just shut things down completely, especially if it's a rainy Saturday in Norman, Oklahoma? If you shut the run down for Ole Miss and you're gonna have to throw the ball around in a slot fest, that is not a recipe for success in the rain. Okay, throw the ball 50 times. That's not a recipe for success. But you may have to do that if OU shuts your run game down. And I expect Lane Kiffin, he knows that. He'll make the adjustments. OU's defensive line, unbelievable. Okay, now, I hinted at it earlier. This is by far the best offense OU has faced up until this point in the season. I believe statistically, you would say that Michigan, by all the metrics, grades out to be the highest offense, like the highest rated offense that OU has faced until this season. Okay, up until this point. If Michigan's the best offense you've faced, you haven't faced a very good offense, okay? And some would say, well, it's probably Auburn. I am one of those people. I would say that Auburn probably has been the best offense that OU has faced. Just the weapons, the run game that they have the ability to produce. You saw it in the first half against Georgia. They can do that. Didn't do it against Oklahoma. Shut them down, and the offense didn't look great, okay? I would still say the Auburn offense is the best offense they have faced. Now, they have not faced a quarterback like Trinidad Chambliss. How do they respond to facing a quarterback like Trinidad Chambliss? Okay, do they corral him? Do they contain him well, or do they let him escape, leak out, find guys down the field, run on him for 100 yards? How do they respond to that? Because so far, this defense is getting the elite label thrown around all over the place. People are calling this defense elite. They're going to have to live up to that name on Saturday because Lane Kiffin has his offense rolling and they're scoring points left and right. They're not going to be able to do that against Oklahoma if it really is elite, okay? If it's not elite, Ole Miss probably score 30 plus. If it is, Ole Miss probably not getting to 20, and that would induce success for Oklahoma. Now, the one thing to watch out for Oklahoma defensively, a couple weeks in a row now, we've seen them struggle with tackling, especially one-on-one in space. If there's one thing we know about Lane Kiffin, he has that ability to give his playmakers the ball one-on-one in space. Oklahoma, against Texas, missed a bunch of tackles. That's how Texas was able to seemingly look like a competent offense against Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry a couple weeks ago. Then we looked at South Carolina. The 3 good plays that South Carolina had offensively were because of missed tackles, okay? You can't do that against Ole Miss because, yes, against South Carolina, it's a 30-yard gain. Against Ole Miss, it's a touchdown. Against Ole Miss, it's a touchdown, okay? That cannot happen against Ole Miss. That's what you need to look out for Oklahoma. Does the tackling get a little better? It needs to be a little better against this high-potent, high-caliber offense that Ole Miss has this season. Now, who do I think is going to win? The line currently 4.5 for Oklahoma. There's something I can't shake about this game, okay? Something I can't shake. I'm going to go with Ole Miss to win this football game. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know why I think it's going to happen. Statistically, all the statistics show me that OU's going to win this football game. If you really look into them, Oklahoma has the matchup success, okay? They have the favorable matchups. But I'm going Ole Miss. So I guess Ole Miss plus 4.5 is the pick there. Next game up, Vanderbilt hosting Missouri, top 15 matchup. This is insanity that this is a top 15 matchup, and it's basically the same exact football team. Now, before we get into that, Vanderbilt favored by 2.5. Vanderbilt, number 10 in the country. Missouri, number 15 in the country. Game day's going to be there. Josh Pate's going to be there. Everybody and their dog is going to be at this football game that is anywhere involved in the realm of college football to watch Missouri and Vanderbilt go at it on Saturday afternoon. These are the same football teams. These teams are identical, okay? It's a Spider-Man meme. You know the one where they're going like this? Yeah, that is this game. Missouri and Vanderbilt, look, they got the same colors, black and gold, different shades, I guess some could say. They have quarterbacks that want to run the football more than they want to pass the football. They have head coaches that are being rumored at big-time Power 4 head coaching openings in Eli Drinkowitz and Clark Lee. They've both somehow resurrected these programs from bad positions, okay? They have defenses that are really good at stopping the run. They have offenses that are really, really good at running the football, and they both want to hold the ball for the entire game, okay? Both in the top 15 in time of possession. Missouri at 4, and I believe Vanderbilt is at 14 there. Missouri has the 5th rush offense. Vandy has the 3rd in yards per rush, 14th in yards per game. So both of these offenses want to run the ball. So if you like fast games, this is probably the game for you. I would expect this game to be the quickest game of any college football game this season. Now, what I keep coming back to is that when you have two teams, Missouri being one of them, and Bo Prabula running that offense, and then Vanderbilt and Diego Pavia running that offense, when you have two teams that are virtually the same team, okay? Missouri, you could give them a slight edge defensively and pass defense. You could give Missouri a slight edge there over Vanderbilt. But again, these two teams don't want to air it out. That is not their MO. That is not what they want to do. That is not how they run the offense. That is not how they score their points. They're a ground and pound, 12-play drive, take up 8 minutes of the clock, and we get 3 points out of it. That is how they play this game, okay? And these two teams, again, one loss, 6-1 for both of them. There's another similarity, and the similarity keep going deeper. Their losses to Alabama, and their loss happened because both of these offenses turned the ball over in critical moments of the game. Vanderbilt had 2 red zone turnovers. If they don't have that, they could very well beat Alabama on the road in Tuscaloosa, okay? Missouri, same way. Theirs was at home, but turnovers from Bo Prabula cost them that football game. Okay, so these two teams on paper and by their colors, by their head coaches, by the way they go about how they want to play football, they're the same team. And when you have two teams that want to play the same way, that have basically the same identity from head coach all the way down to fifth player on the depth chart. Okay? When you have those two teams play each other, the things you want on your side, if you're playing the same team, you want the better quarterback and you want to be at home. Vanderbilt's at home, and they have a better quarterback in Diego Pavia. Now, do they have the best player on the field? Probably not. Missouri has more talent than they do, but they do have a better quarterback, and they do have home field. And when you're playing a team that you play each day at practice, I'm going to take the team with the better quarterback, and I'm going to take the team with home field on their side. So, in a battle of Spider-Man meme, give me Vanderbilt to win this game and Vanderbilt to cover the 2.5. Next up, we have the upset alerts, folks. Going to take a sip here from the mug. If you wouldn't mind, subscribe down below. Go follow on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram as well. And then we'll jump into upset alerts. Okay, if you're new here, the way I do this is I take about 6 games, sometimes 5 games, where the point spread is 6 points or more, so a touchdown or more. And I rank them from most likely or least likely upset to most likely upset. And this week was tough. And I only picked top 25 teams as well. So least likely upset of these on the board here, folks. I have Virginia at North Carolina. Okay, Virginia's coming off a bye. North Carolina's coming off a heartbreaker on a Friday night, okay, where they probably could have won that football game and they didn't. Now, it is on the road. So that there is that to factor in. But I just don't. North Carolina's not a good football team, and I keep coming back to that. They're a very, very bad football team. I do not see it happening. Second least likely upset this weekend of these 6, I have Alabama at South Carolina. This is one, I just think Alabama is that much better than South Carolina. Now, South Carolina, home field advantage. They are definitely fighting for their lives there right now, but they stink. And Alabama has shown over the past 4 weeks that they can beat anybody, and they can do it in multiple different ways. So give me Alabama the win there. I just don't see the upset happening. That is why it is second to last here on the board. Next one up, third least likely, fourth most likely upset. And these next 4, I could see all of these next 4 happening, but I did rank them in a certain order. Tennessee at Kentucky is my next one up. We just saw it last week. Kentucky can win a football game. However, they didn't. And that was probably the game where they bite a top 25 team and they let it get away from them. So that is why I'm putting Tennessee at the 3rd spot at the 4th spot on this list. Okay, I think Kentucky had their shot last week against Texas, and it has come and gone. It still wouldn't shock me, so that's why it's at number 4 and not lower. At number 3, these top 3, I could see all 3 of these happening. Okay, we're going to have Michigan at Michigan State as the 3rd possible upset on my board here. Look, it's not because Michigan State's a very good football team. It's not because Michigan, I don't think, is that good. It is solely because rivalry game, and it's at Michigan State. Those are the only 2 reasons, and weird stuff happens in this rivalry, and I could see it happening. So it's at number 3 just for those reasons. Could be way off base, but I like Michigan State there to possibly give Michigan a run for their money. Second most likely upset here, we have Houston over Arizona State. Look, I believe this is 7.5 point favorite. Arizona State is. Houston's only lost this year. They're 6-1. Their only loss this year is at home to Texas Tech, and they got their face kicked in. And you're thinking, oh, well, they got their face kicked in by a team that Arizona State just beat. Well, Houston played Texas Tech when they had their starting quarterback. Okay, Houston has gotten better since that game. They beat a team last week where a lot of people thinking they were going to lose last weekend. Houston could win this football game, and it would not shock me. It would not shock a lot of people that are in the know in the college football world. They can get it done. Connor Wegman, he was an SEC quarterback last year. This environment, not going to scare him. I continue to just dump on the Arizona State Stadium. It stinks. It is lame, ladies and gentlemen. So I expect Connor Weidman to go in there, and I'm actually predicting this one to go the other way. Give me Houston to win that game, folks. And then the most likely upset this weekend is Texas at Mississippi State. Ring those cowbells, Mississippi State Bulldog fans. You're going to get a win against the Texas Longhorns this weekend, and I just don't see any way it does not happen because Texas stinks, and Mississippi State's going to score 30 points on them, and Texas getting to 30 points would be a miracle. So to recap, it is least likely to most likely Virginia at North Carolina, least likely, Bama at South Carolina, Tennessee at Kentucky, Michigan at Michigan State, Houston at Arizona State, and then Texas at Mississippi State. Perfect segue into the picks this week. We are going to bounce back this week. I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. Give me Ole Miss again, plus 4.5 there. We might take the plus 5.5 because I believe that's where it is right now. So we might take that plus 5.5. Then we got USF minus 4.5. This one was tough. I got a little mixed signals from the gut here, but we're still rolling with the Bulls until further notice. Now, Memphis is coming off a loss, so that does make people lean Memphis here. Not me. Not falling for it. Give me Byron Brown and the Bulls in that one. We already talked about it, Virginia. I think they blow out North Carolina. Indiana, UCLA is an interesting one. 25.5 is a lot of points. Indiana, I like what UCLA is doing offensively right now, and that could all come to an end when they play a really good Indiana defense. But give me UCLA plus the 25.5. Georgia Tech minus 17.5. Syracuse with a backup quarterback has been atrocious. Give me BYU plus 3.5 on the road at Iowa State. People are doubting the BYU Cougars. Not me, ladies and gentlemen. Not me anymore. I have been doubting them. I've been picking against them. Not anymore. I've learned my lesson. Give me the Cougars to win that one on the road. Alabama, I'm going to take a minus the 11.5. I don't love it. It's a lot of points. And they've been really bad as double-digit underdogs on the road again under Kalen DeBoer. So that is a reason to pick against them here. Not me. Not falling for it. Give me Vanderbilt at home again, as we discussed earlier. And then Washington minus 4.5. Oklahoma State at Texas Tech. Minus 38.5 is so many points for an in-conference game. Like, that is insanity. I still like Texas Tech minus 38.5 because Oklahoma State is maybe the worst team in the Power 4 this year. A few more for you. Baylor at Cincinnati. I love what Cincinnati has going up front on that offensive line. I think they push Baylor around and cover the 4.5 here, especially at home. We already talked about it. Give me Mississippi State to win outright. Give me Oregon to cover the 33.5 against maybe the worst team in the Big Ten this year in Wisconsin. And then give me Miami to cover the 29.5. I like them to bounce back after Carson Beck's maybe his worst performance as a starter at the Power 4 level. Texas A&M and LSU. LSU stinks. Plain and simple, they stink. I'm picking them to win. I don't know why. That's what the gut told me to do, but they stink. Boston College at Louisville. Boston College is so bad. There's no way the Eagles, even though I love that logo, even though they have a good quarterback, I just don't see it happening. I love Louisville's defense. Give me Michigan State to cover the 14.5. I don't know if they win, but I like them to keep it closer than people expect. And then give me Tennessee to pull away from Kentucky late and get over that 9.5. And then again, I like Houston to win at Arizona State this weekend. Give me Houston plus 7.5. That is the entire show, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, subscribe down below. Even if you didn't enjoy it, subscribe down below. Either way, it doesn't hurt you, and it just helps me. Follow on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram as well. I love you guys. Bye.
Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game.
45-40, 45-50.